My name's Randy Picht, and I'm the new Executive Director of the Donald W. Reynolds Journalism Institute. And I'm delighted to have come on board in time to host this event, which is the official opening of the Microsoft Application Development Lab.
What's this?
The lab is the first of its kind in the world, the first university-based application development lab that Microsoft has opened. It's a very cool space, and I hope you get to explore all of it today. And it's also going to be, I think, a wonderful place for collaboration and interesting new ideas that are going to spring forth from the benefit of the Microsoft technology and all the student and faculty brain power that's going to centralize here. It's the result of a combined partnership between RJI, the MU Campus's Mizzou Advantage Initiative, and of course, Microsoft. So today, we're going to have some remarks to talk about how the lab came into being. We'll talk about what it means for the MU campus, and we'll hear from some folks that are already in the pipeline to get started with some projects to take advantage of Windows 8 and Microsoft. So before I introduce our first speaker, let me recognize a few folks. We have the Dean of the Journalism School and my boss, Dean Mills. And we have Charles Davis, who is a professor here at the School of Journalism and the facilitator of the Media of the Future portion of Mizzou Advantage. Both were instrumental in getting this lab up and off the ground, so thank you for being here. And now it's my great pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Chancellor Brady Deaton. Chancellor Deaton joined Mizzou in 1989 as a professor, and he became the chancellor in 2004. The last time I had the pleasure of introducing Chancellor Deaton was in December when I worked for the Associated Press, and he came to talk to a group of editors and publishers. And back then, there was a lot of attention about whether Missouri was going to move into the SEC, and we sort of know how that turned out. And I said in the introduction that forevermore, Chancellor Deaton would be known as the chancellor that moved Missouri into the SEC. And so today I'm wondering if we perhaps may modify that, and instead of that, it'll be the chancellor who is responsible for bringing Microsoft to the Mizzou campus. I don't know, we'll see, SEC, Microsoft, we'll see how history remembers this. So anyway, Chancellor Deaton.
Randy, thank you very much. And if we keep this up, we're going to have some continuing great announcements to make as we look to the future. And let me say, with all due respect to the SEC, this event here today and Microsoft's role in making this applications lab possible certainly marks one of the hallmarks of what we're trying to do as a university. And I hope in the long term is a far more profound impact on the university, certainly, because it strikes at the very heart of what we're trying to do with those of you that are students, preparing the media for the future and preparing student leaders generally and citizens who will represent this university and the citizens of Missouri in such a profound way around the world. So I want to thank you, Randy, and Dean Mills also for the opportunity to be here today to take part in this particular ceremony, because it's such an exciting event for the university, and one that we are so grateful to Microsoft for enabling this new facility, the first of its kind, to be initiated and take place, and to really inspire not just students and faculty, but the entire broader community with the kind of outreach that you clearly have in mind as we celebrate this kickoff today. Let me take just a moment and recognize also another member of the audience, Jim Sterling, a former member of the Board of Curators, is here with us today. And Jim, thank you for what you've done in the past and continue to do for the University of Missouri in your various roles that you've played now as a professor. And yes, and Jim Cogswell, our library, we often say the heart of the university, the library, which is so vital to all that we do, and working with the library here in the School of Journalism and around the campus. Jim, thank you, and your presence is very valued in this information-intense world that we're in today. Also from my staff, Chris Cucola, my assistant for public affairs. Speaking of media and intensity, we're involved in it all the time, and I appreciate that kind of support. And I can't see everybody that's in the room, but to all of you, welcome. And if I've missed anyone, obviously, I apologize for that. You know, the Reynolds Journalism Institute, not only the School of Journalism, Dean Mills and I have worked together for many years now here at this university, but as we saw the evolution of the Reynolds Journalism Institute, and now we see the excitement generated by this particular Microsoft-established laboratory, an application laboratory, it's just a continuation of some of the most exciting events going on in the world today. It's, as I mentioned before, it's the first such lab of its type, and we appreciate the support that Microsoft has given us in the developing this kind of best practices approach, looking to the future, developing innovation. The RJI theme of ideas, experiments, research, and solutions just is exemplified when we see something like this. And those of you that participate in it, I envy you the opportunity to gain that new insight and to move forward. And as Randy said a few moments ago, it definitely owes a great deal to the Mizzou Advantage, that interdisciplinary perspective that we're taking to key areas of academic scholarship and research and innovation on this campus, and the media of the future that Charles Davis leads. And Charles, thank you. We've seen your presence in so many fronts, and you're working with the Mizzou Advantage enables that to be also a source of some funds, as I understand, to particularly hire a programmer from Hallmark who's, I believe, with us today. I think I met him earlier, and you're going to hear from him, I think, a little bit later. But that drawing on the unique strengths of our university, and certainly the School of Journalism generally has served as one of those very important niches of linking together other areas of the campus in so many exciting and prominent ways, and calling really world attention to the University of Missouri as a result of that scholarly leadership and outreach that they provide around the world. And so with this Microsoft Application Development Lab here at the RJI, we see a particular linkage to the School of Medicine on the one hand, our School of Engineering on the other, bringing together key elements of fundamental knowledge that do not exist on every major research university in the nation, but we're fortunate to have it here at the University of Missouri. And the Mizzou Advantage represents an effort to look at those niche areas and bring together those things that we can do here at the University of Missouri better than any, we think, better than any university in the nation. We can't do everything, but we can select a key set of issues to look at. And so the media of the future is one that indeed we can be pioneers in achieving. And so you've brought this together. I salute you for your work in doing that. And I know that you're looking at this as a way of leveraging yet additional applications of modular networks and digital information in ways that we have yet to really fully understand. But the scholarship here among faculty, the very bright group of outstanding students at the undergraduate and the graduate level that are such a hallmark, are also going to be able to work with entrepreneurs, venture capitalists off campus to find new and exciting applications that can play a very important role in the economic development of the state and the nation. And by the outreach that you have, it really plays a critical role in what we're doing internationally. So certainly it is within the realm of absolute, not just aspiration, but close reality that we see the RJI, this Microsoft Application Laboratory, as sort of being a hub for digital media investments that can be undertaken, working with the private sector, stimulating a new vision of digital linkages that we are only beginning to think about. As far as we've gotten today, and Dean Mills and I were saying, you know, from when you look back a few years, you're just amazed at how far we've gotten. And at the pace that we are now on, I believe we're going to look ahead 10 and 15 years from now, 20 years from now, and say, my goodness, we were really just beginning. But here we are in this beautiful facility, the RJI Institute, the Macros Application Laboratory that we're here to kick off and celebrate today. And it could not be a more exciting time for the university at a very important time in the evolution of our athletic programs as well, Randy. So you brought that together. This is a big week for us. We've been joined by Provost Brian Foster. Brian, raise your hand there. I didn't see you earlier, but I knew you might be here. And certainly Provost Foster has led the dialogue across the campus in the evolution of the Mizzou Advantage areas. And the Media for the Future we're celebrating today in grand style. And I thank you for being here from my standpoint, and it's a very real pleasure to be part of this celebration. Randy, thank you very much.
Thank you, Chancellor Deaton. Okay, so now we're going to hear from one of our Skype guests, and first on the Skype horn is the person from Microsoft who worked really hard to get this all established. And Aviad, can you hear me?
Yep. Can you guys hear me over there?
Yeah, perfect.
All right, great.
So this is Aviad Benzikry, and he is in charge of university partnerships for Microsoft. Is that right?
Well, specifically Windows. Yeah, I work within the Windows segment marketing program or area, excuse me. So we work with universities and we do cool projects like this when I get a chance. So.
Okay, great. Well, you've heard I know you were listening to Chancellor Deaton's remarks, so you heard him thank you, and we want to thank you as well for all your efforts to get this going. It's very exciting. So how about if I ask you a couple questions and you can tell us a little bit about how this all got started? So.
Sounds great.
Okay, so we're very excited about the opportunities for the new lab will offer to our students and faculty in the media industry in general. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about what you're excited about from the Microsoft side of the fence.
Sure thing. So over here within Windows and obviously within Microsoft, we're really excited to hear about the ways that you over at University of Missouri use this space to be innovative. We put that name directly, in that area about, application development, but we're really excited to see what you guys are able to do around Windows 8 and Windows Phone 8, which we had a big announcement yesterday. Also, the technology competition that Mike mentioned really early in the conversations we had about, potentially putting something into the lab, how you guys combine students from different majors, so collectively, with all their different strengths, you're able to create something really substantial. We're incredibly excited to find out more about that. And then lastly, when I was there the last time when we were installing the lab, hearing about the cool research that's being done between the engineering school and the medical school. And that's a perfect example of how something can grow organically from a space like this and really eventually change the world.
All right, thanks. And so can you walk us through kind of the setup of the lab and how you and the designers envisioned how the three kind of distinct areas would work and what you guys were trying to accomplish?
Yeah, sure. So when we started the conversation, we really thought about making this space a unique space on campus, somewhere that's between the classroom and the dorm room. We wanted to not have it as desks, that there's no space for anyone to work together, and we didn't want it to be beanbag chairs and no one really working at all. So what we ended up designing is I'm sure there's plenty of space like that. But with what the setup you guys have today, we've really accomplished that through having a space, from my angle anyways, at the end of the room you have a collaboration space as well as a room behind Randy where you have tables where students can sit around a table and work together, as well as there's whiteboarding space on the wall so they can draw things out and explain things to one another. You also have the area where the TV is right now that's projecting me, which is more of an individual workspace with those chairs on the side of both sides of the walls, either the chairs on the left by the windows or those right there with the computers on them, so a student could sit down and really do work with a little less distraction. And lastly, where you see me right now on the TV, we wanted to have space where Xbox and Kinect could be added into this, and so there could be some work, but also some play. And we wanted students to be able to use Skype like we're using right now, so they could collaborate not only within the space, but all over the world using that technology as well.
All right, that's a great description. So since this is the first Microsoft lab on a campus, can you share with us some of the things that you learned in setting this up, and maybe some of the surprises or insights you had as you worked through the process to get this all going?
Absolutely. So I really want to point out how integral and how key Mike McKean and Cindy Rowe were in the entire process. Being the first of its kind, we really collectively had to learn things from square one, starting with the legal document, through the space requirements, through everything, and having those two really holding our hands along the way, we were able to really progress quickly, which was nice to see. Anytime you're building a space in an existing building, there's going to be challenges, and they were definitely mitigated by working with those two. So really want to point out and thank both of them. But really, the amazing thing was we didn't have any major roadblocks. The great thing was the space was available, and we walked in there, both myself and Jason, who's the designer, and we just saw it immediately that there was so much potential for that space, both rooms being connected. We were lucky that we didn't have to do too much, and it wasn't some major roadblock we ever had to overcome. So thanks to everybody that was involved, and we're really excited to see where this lab takes the university and no exaggeration, the world, because this can really change it. So.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us today.
Sure thing.
Okay.
How the sausage is made while you talk a little bit longer.
All right, guys. Well, I'm going to hop off, and thank you all. Talk to you soon.
Okay, thanks. So next on the agenda is to introduce the man who's pushing all the buttons right now. Mike McKean, who is a professor here at the J School in the convergence sequence, and that worked. And also, wait, and also director of the Futures Lab, and this lab will be part of the Futures Lab. So, Mike.
Well, as we mentioned, we want this space to actually serve two broad purposes: a place where students can simply come and collaborate, where they can experience new mobile technology, but equally as important to us at the J School and RJI is that students working with our partners and the faculty and the staff and media companies can actually build something, and in this instance build mobile technologies that apply to not only the field of communication but a lot of other fields as well. So we front-loaded 3 projects to get the lab off to a great start. And I'm going to tell you about the first one here with just a very tiny little bit of introduction before we hear from Beth Polish, who's waiting patiently there on the screen from New York. 5 years ago, RJI decided that one way we could get students involved in the work that we do here is to start a student competition. And rather than have simply journalism schools, or journalism students rather, working on projects, we wanted to invite students from computer science and business to come together in teams to solve problems where technology could make a difference. And 3 years ago, we had a real great opportunity through an alumni connection to meet up with Beth Polish. Beth is the Senior Vice President for Corporate Innovation at Hearst. And Hearst, and the Innovation Division especially, was looking for partners for people who could come up with solutions to unique problems and opportunities they had. So for the past 3 years, Beth has been sponsoring the competition. Our students have been working diligently to design ideas and products and prototypes for Hearst. And now via Skype from New York, I think, Beth, you have something to say about this year's competition.
Thanks, Mike. I'm really excited to be here and appreciate you allowing me to do this by Skype, as today was my twins' first day of kindergarten, and I needed to be there. So we're really, Hearst and Hearst Innovation is really thrilled to sponsor for the 3rd year in a row the competition, and we're especially excited to focus on Windows 8 and mobile. We think it's a tremendous opportunity for us to have the ability to learn and be involved in this platform earlier than most anybody else to get involved, and to work with the fabulous students at RJI, both in the journalism school, in the computer science, and the business school. And as Mike knows, each year we get better and better, and the work that we build together is increasingly relevant. And last year's winner of the competition, Project Scope, we're actually right now working on developing it to deploy as a pilot within our newspaper group. So we're really excited about this year and to be part of this new lab that's been created, and we appreciate Microsoft for doing this with RJI.
Yeah, I think most people know Hearst is a major media company, very diversified, newspapers, television stations, magazines, digital properties. But say a little bit, just briefly, about how important you think mobile is to the growth and the future of Hearst.
Well, I think like most other media companies, we're finding whether it's related to our newspaper properties, our TV properties, or our magazine properties, that mobile is just exploding. And the opportunity to develop in mobile now is just incredibly important for us, because we really do see the future in mobile.
Great. Well, one other thing, you mentioned that we learn more every year as we do this, and I think one of the things we have learned is how valuable it's going to be to have a full-time programmer on board to help mentor and work with Hearst on projects. Could you just say a word or two about that?
Oh, sure. I mean, as Mike alluded to, we really want real world solutions, and we really believe that the students that we work with are professionals, but they need help from somebody who's a really solid developer if we're going to really work with these platforms and be able to commercialize them. And so we're so thrilled that last year we had some help and we appreciated that. And we're so excited that this year there's going to be somebody who can really dedicate time and effort, especially as we're working with Windows 8 and getting this early look at the platform.
Great. Well, we look forward in the next few weeks when we can get the announcement out, have our speed dating session, and get the students really engaged in the next Hearst competition. But I think we'll let you get back to your twins for now. So thank you very much, Beth.
Thank you. I look forward to seeing everybody.
I want to talk about our second project. I said there were 3 that we were launching to get the lab off to a good start. And the second ties directly into what Chancellor Deaton was talking about with Mizzou Advantage. We were looking for opportunities to do interdisciplinary work, and particularly work that was appropriate to this lab that perhaps worked with a division that we hadn't been involved with deeply before, at least not at this level with technology. And so Charles Davis, who's already been referenced, when we talked to him about the lab, said, this is a great idea. Not only was he on board with the vision of it, not only did he talk to Provost Foster about getting some money to help us support a full-time programmer that we just referenced, but then he also said, I've got a great project for you to get started in the lab. And this project involves 2 colleagues, Marge Skubik from Computer Engineering, who was hoping to be with us today but had a death in the family and couldn't be here, and Professor Aaron Gray from the School of Medicine. And Aaron is going to talk just briefly now for a couple of minutes, and we have just a few slides to show you about a project they're engaged with using gaming technology and Xbox to deal with a really serious sports-related medicine problem. So Aaron, why don't you just come up and share a little bit of that?
Thank you for having me. It's not often that I get to come to this side of campus, and it's always a joy. So, I'd really like to thank, first of all, Charles Davis for getting me involved with this. When I started here as faculty about a year ago, I kind of approached him and said, hey, I've got these ideas, and he really helped plug me into some different people on campus. And I'm very excited about this kind of a space, bringing multiple disciplines together. I mean, it's kind of, how does medicine, journalism, and engineering fit together? And it's neat to see what kind of things can come out of it. So I'm a family physician. I'm also a sports medicine physician. And so injury prevention, injury rehab are topics that are very near and dear to my heart. I also am a gamer and grew up in the gaming era. Played Nintendo when I was younger, and so more recently have noticed the Xbox Kinect, which actually you can see right here. And so with this device, Does anybody here, their kids play it, they play it, their grandkids play it? Okay, a few people. It tracks about 20 different joints in your body when you stand in front of it. And so basically, if you move, your character on the screen moves. And so that is very good for when you want to play games and you want to do things like this. But we're starting to realize more and more medicine and physical therapists and rehabilitation experts are starting to see that there's a lot of potential for using it more in the medical side of things. And this $150 or $200 device can do a lot of things that $100,000 devices can do. And now it's very affordable, it's mobile, and with that, there's a lot of interesting possibilities. So some of the things that we're interested in, first of all, kind of our first project is looking at ways that we can use this to help decrease the risk of female athletes suffering ACL injuries. So female youth athletes suffer ACL injuries about 4 to 6 times higher rate than their male counterparts. And so we definitely have kind of an ACL epidemic amongst our female youth athletes. Since Title IX about 40 years ago, we've seen a 10 times increase in our high school female athletes. So, which is what we want. We want, more playing, but then also that means we have a lot more numbers with injuries. So we know that as females go through puberty, their bodies change, and often they have some neuromuscular kind of deficits and problems that cause them to be more higher risk for this. So some things that we're looking at with using the Kinect is looking at changing landing patterns with female athletes. So often if you ever go to a junior high basketball game and you watch, you see everybody, they land and their knees cave together and then they jump back up. And so that's a risky pattern. And so with this, you can get immediate biofeedback and you can work on strengthening and changing some of these things. So it's something that we're very excited with, one of our first projects. But if you just start using your imagination, there's so many other possibilities for this. So some other things are, if you sprain your ankle, often the hardest part is doing those exercises at home that your doctor or your physical therapist tells you to do. It's no fun, and it's hard to just remember to do it. So what if we can make that as a game? Or make it where it's interactive, where it's fun, where it's actually a challenge and enjoyable to do. Other things, concussions are a big topic, and one of the challenges is getting very objective balance testing. And so using something like this, you can very easily measure someone's balance or their sway. So these are just, ideas, and there's so many more. Once you start thinking about this, you can see there's a lot more possibilities. We have a demo of what we've been working on for our top project that we're going to be showing right here after we clear out the room, and we'd encourage you to come by and just see some of the capabilities of this as it tracks some of your joints and it measures those angles. And so there's more science, but you can come up to me later and we can talk about that. But I do want to definitely thank Dr. Skubik, who unfortunately couldn't be here, in computer engineering and computer science. So she and some of her students, Eric Stone and Aaron McCruer, have been very vital in developing this software. Jeff Marks is a medical student that worked with me this summer that's also helped. And then I'd definitely like to thank Mizzou Advantage for making this interdisciplinary possibilities a reality, because without that kind of connection, I don't think that there would ever, I never would have known to, go to these different places. And so I'm very excited with what that leads for the future. So thank you very much.
So you get the idea of the kinds of exciting projects that we can develop with these interdisciplinary collaborations. The J-School's been involved in health communication for a long time, but I personally had no idea about this technology project till Charles brought us together through Mizzou Advantage. We would encourage other researchers and scientists on campus, if they have ideas for something, especially if it ties into communication in some way, to see us, because we want to develop more projects and keep this lab rolling full time. The third project, very briefly, I'm going to mention because we're running a little short on time. RJI has been actively involved now for some years through fellows and through work of our students and staff in the Futures Lab in testing mobile technology, especially smartphones and tablets. I think, for example, of Clyde Bentley, who's one of our fellows and who, by the way, has a very nice relationship with Nokia that just announced a new Windows 8 platform, a couple of really great phones yesterday we hope we'll get access to. We've also had fellows from the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, Will Sullivan, and a bunch of students who've worked on trying out mobile phones and tablets to see how well they work as reporting devices, editing devices, distribution devices, and devices for engaging audiences in ways journalists haven't been particularly good at in the past. Well, now we're adding Windows 8 to the mix in just a few weeks, October 26th, when Microsoft comes out with officially the Windows 8 platform. the new Surface tablet, and a variety of other mobile devices, we'll be able to test them in that same rigorous way through RJI and share our results with the journalism industry so they can take advantage of what we're doing. So those are our 3 projects, and again, we welcome a lot more. To make sure these projects work, one of the critical components of this project was to get a full-time programmer and lab manager on board at RJI. The collaboration we've had with computer science has been great. We've been able to count on them for help with programming, but we need to take the next step up. And so we got Mizzou Advantage and Microsoft to provide us some funds to help RJI supplement a full-time programmer. And he is here with us today, although he still has another day left, I think, on the job at Hallmark. But I want to introduce him to very quickly Stephen Bach. Stephen's in the back here. And Stephen is currently the lead mobile developer at Hallmark for another 24 hours or so, and then he's going to join RJI next Tuesday. He is not a stranger to RJI. He's in fact been involved previously as a student in 2 of our student competitions. He worked with us in application development class that we co-teach with the folks over in computer science, and then as a professional at Hallmark, he actually mentored a team of students last year that was working on a prototype app for Hallmark. So we're really happy to have Stephen here. He also has a lot of friends and former classmates who work in some of the both established digital media companies and some of the startups here in town, so those connections we think are going to be really vital for us too. If you'd like to stick around afterwards or come back sometime this afternoon, Stephen will be here to answer your questions. I get just a couple of thank yous very quickly. You heard Aviad mention Cindy Rowe, and Cindy and Sarah Henderson, my administrative assistant. Really, we wouldn't have gotten this thing done in the 3 weeks that they put this lab together without their constant attention, working with the crews and the designers and a lot of other folks. I want to mention Travis McMillan, who's across the hall in his office directing the live feed that we're sending out to the world via streaming video. He and Jeff Beeson, who is our events coordinator, helped set that up. And Olga Kyle and her husband Greeley, who's on our radio TV faculty, produced the really cool time-lapse video of how this whole lab came together. Finally, I want to thank Justin Giles, who's our IT specialist at RJI. He's gotten a lot of these Windows 8 devices together, and he'll be working very closely with Stephen to make sure that these projects get off the ground and we have a very successful time here at the Microsoft Application Development Lab. So thank you, and for a few final closing remarks, Randy.
Thank you, Mike, and you thanked everyone I was going to thank, so all I have left to say is thank you for coming, and come enjoy some Microsoft cookies or some RJI M&Ms, and feel free to browse and play with the Legos if you like. So, thanks.